It's been 43 years since the 80s were upon us. Neon colors, hairspray, landline phones. You had to pretty much get out to find things to do. Remember bringing home your first VCR? Well, some things we have moved on from, but there's much that we still have missed. So let's get into it. So the 80s gave us great music, cartoons, movies, commercials, toys, fashion, the TV shows, the food, novelty, tons of things within the decades of the 80s. And that's what we do, guys. We're going to explore the 80s every Tuesday, totally 80s, where we're going to highlight things that you might have forgot about or that you wish that you didn't have to forget. So we're going to kick off this segment with toys, guys. We love the toys, and toys from the 80s have had us continuing to collect today, going back to our childhood. I mean, come on. Who didn't want to sit around and play with your Masters of the Universe? He-Man, I have the power! Right? I mean, you would sit there, and definitely you're going to take the action figures, and you're going to be battling in the backyard. You're getting dirty. You're just like building little forts. And you got your He-Man, your Battle Cat. Like, you're having a lot of fun with that. The fun is back. Yes, sirree. It's the 2600 from Atari. It's a video system with classics galore, to Space Invaders and Cars That Roar. Oh man, can you remember coming home from school and putting a cartridge in, turning on the TV, mom's bringing you in some pizza rolls or some kind of snack, and you're sitting there playing the Atari 2600. We'll be back after these messages.
Here's the world of Rainbow Bright.
Rainbow Bright. And also remember Baby Bright with the special formula that she had in the bottle. And, of course, Lurky. And we cannot forget Starlight. And obviously hanging out, Rainbow Bright and Starlight and Lurky, just having a little bit of fun. With these pals, every day was a Rainbow Bright day. Those pound puppies really need to be rescued. Pound puppies, I'm so glad to find you. Put that lonely puppy town behind you. Remember the pound puppies? You know you wanted to take one home. You wanted that to be your pet. We loved the pound puppies from Tonka. Pound puppies, will you rescue one today? Well, we did have the Cabbage Patch Kids, and a few years later, the parody of the Cabbage Patch Kids came on through trading cards. That's right, so the cute faces and the huggable bodies, you got the vomit, the boogers, you got all the funny stuff. You got the characters like Messy Tessie, you have Rob Slob, Acne Amy, Furry Fran, Atom Bomb. I mean, these were a hit. The Garbage Pail Kids. The Topps trading cards, basically, as soon as they were released, became a smash hit. But they also drew criticism from parents. They were at some point banned from West Coast to East Coast at schools. You could just say, hey, keep them at home. Topps had a big hit with wacky packages back in 1967. Like, they'd use names like Ritz Crackers to become Rat's Crackers, or Morton Salt would become Moron Salt. And kids thought it was funny. So they wanted to make sure that they came up with something creative, and with the idea of basically being a parody to the Cabbage Patch Kids. So they called it the Garbage Pail Kids. And they would have like a package that featured a little baby in a trash can. The naming system, they thought the cards would be more appealing to kids if they carried common first names. That way they can embrace their inner Stinky Sam or give a friend a card with a less than flattering depiction of their namesake on it. So they had an artist, John Pound, and he illustrated all 44 cards in the first set in 2 months. His sketches then was reviewed, and voila, the Garbage Pail Kids. But believe it or not, Topps actually exercised some restraint in card sets, holding back a few cards they believed that were too offensive to distribute. And one painting featured a baby in a pickle jar, which was quickly vetoed because some people might interpret it as an abandoned fetus. They also had one where Abraham Lincoln had bullet holes through his top hat. They also had one where a little girl was standing next to her dog and near a pile of feces. The girl is pointing at the dog in a accusing manner, and the dog is pointing right back at the girl. So obviously there was some cards out there that they didn't want to go through with, which would be good today if we found those cards or somebody actually was able to secure them somehow. The Garbage Pail Kids are still around today. You can get the cards, the packs, and go ahead and share some of those memories of opening them the first time. Just ask Collector's Conquest. Key tons of fun. I love the Garbage Pail Kids. They go and get them all the time. Did you tune in for the breakdancing shows? Were you out there on the streets busting some moves of your own? Do you remember breakdancing? It was a huge thing in the 80s. Let's keep it right there in the music department. Well, what about those bands, the hair bands? Strictly a product of the 80s. Because as you got into the 1990s, you had Nirvana, Grudge, and different things that were coming through. But man, you had Whitesnake, Metallica, Motley Crue, Poison, and of course, Van Halen. I mean, driving down the road, your windows are open, the breeze is blowing, and you're jamming to one of these bands, listening to their great songs. You put in your mixtape. I mean, come on. You know the hair bands were amazing. But what about those one-hit wonders? You know, those songs that you wanted to hear over and over. They were amazing, but they were that one hit for that decade. And then they would continue on through our lives that we just love to hear. Let me know in the comments, what was some of your favorite one-hit wonders? I'm going to give you a few of them right now. How about Whip It by Devo? Whip it into shape it up. You remember 99 red balloons, or 99 Luft balloons, because they were red. German song, basically was, from the band Nina. And the backdrop of the story was the Berlin Wall in the 1980s, a symbol of mistrust and constant strife. The inspiration of the lyrics came at a 1980s concert in Berlin at which balloons were released into the sky. How about Alana Miles and some Black Velvet? That was a jam. I mean, you were driving in the car, you had the windows down, the air's blowing, and you cranked it up too. Definitely a song that you gotta crank up and you can listen to over and over. Now there's one song you might remember from the 80s that maybe it wasn't necessarily the lyrics, but it was the phone number. All right, everybody, sing it. 8675309. 8675309. 8675309. You know you were singing that. You know it. Well, definitely the 80s have had a lot to give us in that decade. And a lot of memories that we remember, that we hold on to. Well, every Tuesday, we do Totally 80s. And we go back and rewind and explore things from the 80s. So I hope you've enjoyed this show. Hey, leave me a comment down below. Tell me what you want to explore in the 80s. What was something you liked about this video? And definitely thank you for checking it out and listening. I appreciate it 100%. You guys have a blessed day. And remember, 8675309.